Today we're making a little wire wrapped flower. It's made with 5 briolette beads and a little round bead in the middle. The wire's wrapped around the petals in a weave sort of design, and that's what holds them all in place. I'm using these cute little rose quartz briolette beads. They're sort of like a teardrop shape and they're faceted and drilled through the top. My briolette beads are about 10 millimeters wide and about 15 millimeters tall. Then I've got an 8 millimeter aquamarine bead for the middle. If you're using bigger briolette beads than what I'm using, you will have to adjust the length of your wire. For our flower design today, we're using about 30 inches of the 20 gauge dead soft silver wire. So I just measure that out and cut it to length. Now we can start by threading our briolette beads onto the wire. Not a great camera angle there, sorry, but I'm just keeping the beads sort of close to one end. I want to leave a bit of a straight tail here, so I want about 2 inches on this end. So I'm just going to measure that. And then with the beads on the wire, I'm going to leave that 2 inches on the end and just start to work the wire into a circle shape on the spot where the beads are. Briolette beads won't like to slide down the wire once the wire's bent. So you want to try and have your briolettes in the spot where they will stay sort of before you bend the wire. And as you bring this wire around, you're trying to form them into a little circle, so they're going to sit in that little flower shape. You want your little petals sitting quite close to each other and sort of evenly spaced. Once you're happy with the briolette beads and where they're sitting, and you've got these wires overlapping at the center part, then we're going to twist these wires around each other. I like to grab the wires when they're apart there and do 2 twists, or they're sort of half twists. So there's 1 twist and the second one. Just making sure that you're twisting each wire equally around the other wire, so you're not just twisting one wire around the other wire. Now we bring this long wire in a downwards direction across the pendant there. And we can pop our little 8 millimeter bead onto the wire. Bringing the bead down so it can sit just in the middle of your flower there. Just placing it in there where it's going to sit, sort of in the middle of the petals there. Then we bring this wire in between 2 of the petals on the bottom side of the pendant there. Doesn't really matter if it's to the left or the right of that middle petal, it's just whichever one sits better. So the wire comes up the back and meets up at the center again, and I bring it on the left hand side of this other piece of wire, and then I'm going to start weaving my wrap towards the right hand side. So this first briolette bead here, I'm bringing the wire on the front of it and then bringing it in between the first 2 beads there to come around the back of that second briolette there, and then in front again. So we're just weaving our way around, alternating between the front of a briolette and then behind a briolette bead. That brings us back to the center, so we just keep on the same design behind that next one and then in front. You want to try and just gently hold your briolettes flat as you're working around them as well, because the wire will pull them forwards or back on your first few layers. And this is just securing those briolette beads in place. So just keep going around and bringing it in front and then behind, and then in front and then behind. I like to do 3 layers of wire on each briolette, which is 3 on the front and 3 on the back of each briolette bead. So that's actually 6 full loops around the whole flower in total. It's up to you how many wraps around you do, but I find 3 holds the briolette beads nice and securely in place and also gives that really nice weaving effect. But if you have bigger beads and you want to do more, just use a longer length of wire before you start weaving. Once you've done your equal amount of layers on the front and the back of each bead, you can bring your wire back to the center to have it meet up with this other wire there. Then we're going to twist these 2 wires around each other again. So I'm just overlapping those wires there and holding them apart a bit so that I can grab them with my pliers and wrap them equally around each other. There's one twist there. Then I'm just making sure I can twist these wires in a way that equally twists those wires around each other. So there's the second twist. Now we're going to work on our bail. So I'm just trying to bring these wires up together neatly. So I want them nice and tidy and sitting next to each other. Then when I'm happy with them, I just turn my design on its side and then bend both the wires backwards. Now we can grab the wire there with our round nose pliers just above the bend there and just bring the wires around the round nose pliers and then in between the pendant and the pliers. Then you can wrap it around the bottom of the bail here with both the wires coming around a couple of times. Once you've come around the first time, you can take one wire around at a time. It's sometimes easier. Bringing them around nice and tight, and that's going to secure that little bail in place. Then you can cut your little tails off and crimp the ends in nice and tight, making sure there's no sharp edges anywhere. Hopefully you have something that looks somewhat like this, just with your own little spin on it. So you can take your pliers now and just work with all your wires, straighten up your bail there, make sure your layers of wire are sitting how you want them, and your design is all symmetrical and even. So that's your wire wrapped briolette flower design.